your name. I don't care what these people gon' do, what these people gon' say, what these people gon' bang. We out here making disciples. We in the world, but we can't be the same. Okay. So I went for my hand on the Bible, speaking the truth.
And welcome back to Believe, Ball, Become. What is this, episode 6 or 7?
I think we've done that already, so maybe 7.
Yeah, I think this one actually. I think this should be 7. We are recording this on January 5th.
Is it really already 7?
I think so, because we have the one with Ross, 2 with Braden. We've got at least 2 by herself, if not 3 already.
So maybe this is 6.
This is
Or
either
maybe
6
the one you're
or
about
7.
to put up is 6.
I think the one I'm about to put up is 6. I think I just put up 5. That's when I got demonetized. So
Hey, comment below if you think Ben should let me hold the mic instead of using this. He thinks that Sorry, I didn't tell him I was going to say that. I had it in my head, but he thinks that I won't be able to keep it up to my mouth, so I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, January 5th, 9:47. We've both kind of had our entire day already. I'm sure you were in here earlier making the schedule with Braden and helping out, kind of getting ready for the week. I had practice, then we had practice together, and then we kind of split off for a little bit, and now we're back here. So
yep, it was a good few weeks. We had a good little Christmas break and New Year's Eve was crazy in here. We did record numbers for me personally and for us since I've been here. So that was good. We always appreciate that from all the support. But it was a good break. Some good time with family. Got a little bit of a break from basketball here and there, and then got a lot of good time watching basketball, getting in with the boys for some open gyms and stuff like that. So
yep,
good little break.
For sure, I agree. So yeah, we got 3 different segments here. We're just gonna kind of talk. Yep, you know how it is. I know we're kind of a couple in, but we still don't have. We literally got papers here. We just kind of put together, so we're not very well, prepared. But our goal in the beginning of starting a podcast was just to pump out episodes, and we've been doing a really good job of that so far. So we're just gonna keep it going, and I'm sure we'll evolve eventually. But it's fun, so It's fun to talk and kind of update you guys, and a lot of you guys listen, like we've said, and kind of let us know your thoughts and that you like it or that you want to be on it. So we got 3 different things we're going to talk about. You want to start us off?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and start with kind of like a little basketball update. I like to call it the coaching update. Coach Blake being at AJ, got to go to the El Dorado tournament for Christmas break and had a stellar run. I mean,
oh yeah,
they were by far the number 1 team in points through the first 3 games. They showed out. They showed how good of a team they actually are and got to the championship game for the first time in 20 years. So That's nothing to be sad about. You know.
I agree for sure. I think we just kind of puckered out at the end, got tired. Kudos to Carterville. Played a good Carterville team for sure. They played hard and everything, but I think that was one of a couple games we've had where you kind of really miss Aiden, and you can tell him not being there. But again, kudos to Leon too. Like he did very well. He played a lot of minutes, a lot of strain on his knees. So we really could have used Aiden, but it was phenomenal. A lot of guys stepped up. A lot of guys played good minutes. We had to shorten our lineup a couple of times. Then we had to go into our bench for a game and a half. So I think it was a really good tournament. All the boys loved it. I loved it. It's always been my favorite tournament. I love playing in it. Love coaching in it. So that was my first time in the championship game, and you could tell the boys were amped up. So it was fun.
It was fun. I got to watch every game on YouTube or whatever, but it was definitely an enjoy to watch. Like you said, it was all the boys connecting and seeing all the other boys on the bench that are, getting fired up about everything.
I think you mentioned that to our junior high kids too.
And like watching even the championship game when we're down 30 points, watching some of the guys get hyped when somebody hits a basket or somebody dives on the floor, gets a block, and like seeing some of those other guys still hype is what makes me proud that, AJ is building something. And obviously you lose your starting point guard who's been starting for this will be his 3rd year as your starting point guard, and you lose him 1 game in, it's like it's going to change your season. For them to fight together to get to that championship game, obviously when you have, like we always have talked about, KG brings hope, and when he gets hot like that,
He had a great tournament.
like it makes them really hard to guard. But
Yep.
the thing that makes them even harder to guard is everybody else stepping up, making shots, being strong, finishing at the basket.
Playing their role well.
Dawson got all tournament for a reason because he was
Yeah.
playing his role
Yeah.
perfect. Graydon was hitting shots even when other people weren't. Leon, like he said, was controlling the game.
Some of our
Foster being
sophomores.
strong.
Yeah.
Sophomores coming in and
Yeah.
putting in big varsity minutes
Yeah.
in a big tournament like that
For sure.
on defense and offensive end, making plays. So
It's a bright future.
It was one of those things where we keep talking about how, you know, we've built something. We keep feeling like we're, you know, getting closer, and it's like, you know,
Stacking.
step at a time. And that was one of those things that was like, all right, we're doing something right.
Yeah.
And it was good to see. And it was good for the boys to be like, you know what, all this work we've been putting in is for something.
For
and
sure.
you hate that it finished that way, but
Yeah.
like, they have to know. You know, you play the back-to-back
Yeah.
game. You get the late one out of the two.
Yeah.
So you're going to be a little bit more tired. And we just missed shots. Like
Yeah.
missed shots, turned the ball over, got tired.
Yeah, for sure. And they made shots, so kudos to them.
Oh yeah, they
you know.
were making everything.
Yeah, especially that first half. So, and when, you know, you go back and you think about it a little bit without getting into too much detail, whenever we made adjustments, our adjustments worked. So it's not, you know, you think about it, you could have made adjustments a little bit earlier, but the flow of the game, you're adrenaline, things going on, you get like a minute at a time at most to talk to the kids. So once we got to halftime, we started reeling them in and kind of figuring out what we were going to do and got on the same page. It was a lot better, but yeah, I don't know. I definitely thought that was a good thing for us. It was, you know, a fun tournament, and I had a great time. So now we've got Penaville coming up tomorrow. We spent the last 3 days on them, 2.5, you know, kind of talked about it a little bit last week, and then today watched a little bit of film on them, and then kind of talked about what we were going to do. So you feel good. You know, Penaville's always pretty good, but they, you know, lost some guys last year, and you feel confident going into Penaville this year. And I think Coach Sam talked about it today whenever we were going over their schedule, and he's been using this this example the last couple of years because our strength to schedule, which is put on by, I can't think of his name. It's something Britton. He said his name was something Britton today, but I'm pretty sure it's the area sports guy maybe.
Yeah,
or
area sports stuff.
Yeah, he puts together every year kind of a list of the teams and their strength to schedule, basically meaning like how strong of a schedule you play. And last year, I want to say that at one point we were in the top 5. This year we're 11. You know, when you go to Benton, you go to Nashville, you go to Penaville, and then all 3 of those teams come to you. Not to mention you play Benton again at
Carterville's in the top 10 right now.
Yep, exactly. So our strength to schedule out of 200 plus teams is 11, and so this year we've played already at Nashville, we've played already at Benton. So Coach was just really trying to implant it in those kids' heads today that you've got to believe that we're supposed to be here. We have a chance to win. Not only do we have a chance to win, if we execute what we've gone over the last couple of days, we got a chance to go in and win pretty convincingly. So you feel confident, but they got to make shots, got to execute the game plan. They got a great player. The coach's son, Ty Lauer, he's committed. Is he signed or is he just committed to SIU?
I think he's committed. I'm not sure if he's officially signed yet.
So, yeah, he's pretty good. We got to guard him. So I'm saying all this, talking confidently, and, we still got to guard a D1 athlete tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, we can kind of shift into the junior high unless you got anything else you want to say about.
No, I'm just kind of looking at areasports.net and
Is that what it is?
The high school rankings this morning. And I was seeing, Nashville was in there, Benton was in there. You got Goreville we played was in there, Carterville was in there. It's like we've played 4 or 5 like top 25 ranked teams.
It's been like that the last 3 or 4 years too.
Especially like, a year or two ago or when Nashville, Benton, and Pinckneyville are all ranked in the top like 10. And it was like
that's why I said I think we were 3 last year maybe or 4. So
plus
when he said it
Carterville's
today, I
top
guessed
25
7.
and-
Yeah. When he said it today, I guessed 7, and then it ended up being 11. But
yeah, it's definitely tough. And
it
so
is. It's a hard schedule.
And like we said about the Goreville tournament, all those games were, we were up in the fourth quarter as flip flop hand. If we score, if we could put the ball in the basket and not turn it over. Those little things that just keep coming back to bite us. The little, those little bad habits that you build up that you you don't break once you get tired.
Yes.
And what's happened in every fourth quarter and happened in that fourth game of the El Dorado tournament.
Yep.
So if we can just build up that strength and that mental strength when you get tired, it's proven that we can beat and play with any single team.
Oh, yeah.
Benton, we had them on the ropes until they held the ball at the end.
Yeah.
Which is smart.
Twice. Yeah.
I mean, it's just
That's why
smart.
we need a shot clock.
Yeah.
But we talked about that already.
Yeah.
You guys will see on the next podcast we put out.
Yeah. Goreville scored a lot. It's that is what it is.
I don't want to talk too much anymore about the high school, but I think the shot clock benefited us at El Dorado for sure.
It was actually like I kind of question, will it make a difference? Will it change?
How
it
will
made
we
it
do?
so much more
Yes.
fun. Like,
yes.
I mean,
Made the
obviously,
games good.
just more buzzer beaters. There's
Yeah.
more. You actually have to play the game inside the game instead of just
Yeah.
playing the waiting game.
For sure.
The hold it ball. Like, I want
Yeah.
to see people play basketball. I want to see offense. I want to see people have to match up and get a stop.
Create.
5 seconds left. Everybody lock up, deny, no help.
Yeah.
Take your guy. Like,
We put in a little isolation play right before the tournament that we'd never ran before, just a little 1-4 high. Ran it maybe like 7 times, and I said it to Cham, I said, I think it worked like 5 out of 7 times. And he was like, well, define worked, because I think we got a shot every time. And I was like, you're right. We just, KG hit 2 crazy shots. Leon drew a foul. So I don't know. I like the shot clock. I don't know about you. I'm sure the fans loved it too. Chris Dexter seemed to love it.
Watching it made the games a lot more fun. It makes the fourth quarter. You start playing, the foul game. You start playing the, who's going to get the last shot game. Like 35 seconds is a little bit longer to where it's not quite as close, because after that last 35 seconds is a long time.
Yeah.
24 seconds is a little bit different. Even 30 seconds is a little bit different, but it did make it more fun and a lot more little things about the game, which it's just basketball. It's how basketball is played across the world.
Yeah.
In the professionals and college, that's how it's supposed to be played. It makes the game more fun. It's made baseball better having a pitch clock,
some type of timer.
It just helps the game. It speeds the game up and makes everybody have to be ready and locked in at all times. So I enjoyed it.
Agreed.
Jonesboro.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it in the last podcast. We had a good little conference tournament.
We did.
Had a decent little week afterwards. Had a couple tough losses, a good win in there. But we're on that kind of that teetering edge where, we don't have the best record. We've lost some games we shouldn't have. Played bad a couple of games where it's just like, what happened? Where are we today?
And I hate to cut you off, but when you think about it, there's not a strength to, schedule thing for junior high, but ours has got to be high. I mean, the teams that we played throughout the year, and with AJ, sometimes you'll play some teams like a Cobden or something that it's they're not very good, but with Jonesboro, I feel like we don't ever get that anymore. Every team we play, it's besides maybe a Lick Creek, sorry Ross, but every team we play, you've got to put up a fight and be locked in, and it is the same way for the high school, but there's no strength of schedule for the junior high, so it just makes me wonder, what is our strength of schedule playing all the teams that we play, and it being the second half of our season, and we're still about to play a Pope County and a Giant City. And
well, if you went through and made a point system to where you added up all the 1 or 2 seeds in their regionals that we've played, I guarantee you we've played a bunch of 1, 2, top 3 seeds in their regionals. And we've played very few of the 4, 5, 6s in their regionals.
Yep.
And those games we have taken care of. And we've won a couple of those in between battles. Mm-hmm. But we've also lost some games we probably should have won.
Turnovers and missed shots, though.
Yep.
It's not that, we're doing anything too terribly bad and just throwing the ball to the other team sometimes. And then when we do get the open shot, we miss it. So
it's young basketball.
Yes, that's what it is.
It's young basketball, the same thing with the high school. When you're missing a senior, when you're dealing with junior high kids, it's that times 10. Every single possession, it's you're fighting the mental game with them, whether they're thinking about what they need to do, thinking about what mom and dad says, thinking about the ref should call this, why didn't he call that, thinking about what that kid across from them is
Their
talking crap about.
Is there watching them.
Yeah, there's so many things for a junior high kid that they're trying to battle. So trying to get them to listen to you as a coach is the hardest thing to do in the world.
It comes down to habits. That's why the practice is so important, because it always comes down to habits with any team, any sport, but it's definitely junior high basketball because once the ball gets thrown up in the air and the crowd's cheering, they're liable to just space out. So it's really just about how well. It's really just about how well can you build habits in practice. I think giving them a break was good, but I think since we've been back, we've done a pretty good job, building good habits, practicing some of our skills that we realized weren't too good, like our left hand. But it's been good since we've gotten back. Sometimes you take a break and it seems like everybody comes back a little sluggish. And that first day was a little, but ever since then, like everybody's been locked in. We've been trying to put in a new play, and the guys are doing when you're in practice with the junior high kids and you're watching them, you're kind of not necessarily upset, but you're stressed out. Your stress levels are high because there's a lot of bad passes and there's a lot of air balls and there's a lot of like things that just happen that you're like, are we serious? But then you just have to remember like they're young and they're kids. And so when you're done with practice and you take a step back and you remember like everything that happened, it was actually good. Like I think the last 3 to 4 days of our practices have been really, really good. And so I'm excited to see how the upcoming, we've got 2 games this week, 3 games if you count Saturday.
3 games this week, 3 games next week.
Yeah, we got 6 games in the
1
next
game after
14
that.
days. So.
7 games to finish the season off. So we're wrapping it up. We got 7 games, then we'll play regionals the week after that. We got to lock in and play.
Yeah, our guys are ready. We got to lock in because the comp is going to be good, but our guys are definitely ready. They need to kind of run a little bit more. I think a lot of them ate a lot during break, which is good, but
say, a little extra weight ain't going to hurt when it comes to bumping, but now it's going to have to be able to run and be able to get through to that fourth quarter and keep playing.
Yeah, 7 games in probably like 16 days or 15 days. Like, that's a lot. So, they're kids, but they'll love it. I know they'll love it. I think the last 3 practices we've gotten the question about 8th grade night like 5 times. When's 8th grade night? When's 8th grade night? So they're excited to have some home games and get to play. And I'm not there as much anymore, just because the AJ season is going on, but I enjoy being around. I think I said it last podcast. Every time I walk in, they're like, hey, Blake. And Ben said it every time Gary walks in. They've started with Gary, too.
Yeah, hey. Today they were all chanting, Gary, Gary, Gary.
The vibes are up. Those kids don't ever think about the record. You know what I mean? Like maybe the kids that really, really love the game every once in a while when they're at home by themselves, they're like, dang, I wish our record was better. But the last thing they're doing is sitting there every single day thinking like, dang, our record's just so bad. The other day we shot, half-court shots to see if we could get ice cream. Like that's the type of stuff that they remember and think about and love. And so I heard a quote, I don't remember when it was, probably within the last couple of years, just saying that kids especially, but people learn best when they're having fun. And I feel like our kids are always having fun. And so it's got to be working. They got to be learning something because our high school is slowly building, our junior high is slowly building. So it is a day-by-day process whenever you're trying to instill something that takes a long time. You know what I mean? So
a lot of bad habits you got to break, and a lot of good habits, like you said, you got to build in practice.
Yep, quickly, 2 hours, half the year.
But like we said, we're wrapping it up. The season, I feel like it's going to be on a good note. Even when you have some tough losses in there and, play some good comp, it's like, just remember we're building to something. Like, we just need to get better. Whether we win or lose, let's figure out a way for us to put the ball in the basket and figure out a way to keep them from putting the ball in the basket. We don't have to make it any harder than that.
You want to kind of line up our regional or kind of talk about it?
So right now we got a 6-team regional. The 1 and 2 is kind of a toss-up between Pope County and Cypress. It'll probably be Pope. It's not official yet. It's kind of a toss-up between us and New Simpson for that 3-4. I feel like we've probably got the 3, but it doesn't necessarily matter. And then 5 and 6 is Joppa and Lick Creek. And I think Joppa might have beat Lick Creek once or twice. So it's kind of how our regional lines up. If we get the 3, we'll probably play Lick Creek. If we get the 4, we'll probably play Joppa. And then either way, we're going to have to beat Cypress and Pope County to win the regional, along with one other team. So,
which we believe we can do.
Yeah, we're not afraid of that whatsoever. But we're probably playing two of the better kids in Southern Illinois to to win our regional this year. So
a big part of it is trying to just instill that confidence in them, but then making sure that the day of the game, that confidence is at an all-time high. And that's the hardest part, because there could only be 2 days a week that you can actually get that confidence from them, and it being like a collective energy that they feel. And it's part of our job, more than teaching them basketball and good habits and being a good person. It's part of our job to try to make sure that on the day of the game, on the day of us playing the best team we're going to play, everybody's collectively hyped up, energized, ready to go, locked in. I mean, that's half of it. So, fingers crossed. But like I said, I think if we do that and our 8th graders are locked in and the energy flows to our younger guys, I don't really know a team we can't beat. Getting up to state, I can't. I don't know who we're going to see at state, but definitely in our regional, we've done it the last couple of years, and we build good habits. So as long as we can stay not tired.
Yep, stay healthy. And
Yeah.
I feel like we have enough physical freaks and enough, skilled guys and enough hustle guys like that. We have the pieces. It's like we just have to make sure everybody's doing their job and locked in together.
That day, yeah.
And so, everybody, not that they get selfish, but, they want to take their shots. They want to get their chance. Like,
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
especially the junior high kid, it's hard to get put into a role or something or a defined, way to play at that young when you're just learning how to play at all.
Yeah.
So, we're kind of still working through that, but I think we've kind of gotten to the point where people are starting to feel out where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to do, and now it's just how do we put everybody in the best position, to score, to be in the best position on defense, to not make mistakes, and for us to get wins as we finish off this season. So I think they're starting to really buy into it. I think there's a lot of little stuff that went on throughout the 2 or 3 weeks there that it was just kind of a buildup of basketball's a long season. It's like 3 months long. It's the longest junior high season by a long shot.
Yeah.
And it kind of just builds up on everybody. And so, like I said, the break was good. But like Blake said, these last few practices, the boys have been bringing the energy, getting after it, making a mistake, stopping, listening, trying something different, and finding out that it can actually work, and then doing it again and trying stuff with their left hand, because we practiced with our left hand for half a practice. And so, it was really impressive, some of the stuff that they can do once they realize like how to do it and that they can do it the right way.
You said that during one of the practices. You were like, some of these kids are like, oh, wow, I do have a left hand. This is crazy. And then they started using it a lot more. So it's good having them try new things. It's good having them, locked in. I had something I was going to say, but I kind of lost my train of thought whenever you started talking about the left-hand stuff. But, yeah.
Yeah, we were locked in. We had some good practices.
We did. We definitely did.
Getting ready to wrap up the season.
I remember what I was going to say now. Sometimes you have those days where either kids aren't locked in, or you even have those kids where it's like, I don't know if I want to say something or not, because I'm not sure if he's going to listen, or I don't know. I don't want to say something because I don't want this to be what pushes him over the edge, because he might be having a bad day. And today I was teetering the edge of that, but I ended up saying something to one of our guys, and like he said a second ago, when we stop and we talk, they listened today, and they actually figured it out, and I challenged them to first I challenged them to try and score without the defense switching our screens. Then I said defense switch, and then they tried it against the zone. And I feel like every time we stopped and tried to give them advice, none of the vibes were down. Nobody was like, oh, coach is getting on to me, pity me. So that's always a very good sign whenever kids are taking in information and then applying it. It's like, all right, now we're finally getting to where the game is slowing down a little bit for some of these guys, and they're not just freaking out, which that's what I was going to say when I said I lost my train of thought. So,
well, it's funny because you had the defense come talk to me. I was like, all right, let's switch all the screens.
And that's why that's exactly why I said don't switch screens, is because I was
like,
every time we ran Bulldog, the back pick is open. The guy helps for a second, but then he goes back, and so they kept throwing it there, and so I brought him over, and I was like, listen, let's look at the back pick like we're going to throw it, but let's hit the top guy 3 times in a row. And then I said, once we switch sides 3 times in a row, you can either attack it or hit the 3. I think Blake Wells attacked it or something. But, yeah, that's why I said don't switch screens, because right when we were about to start, in my head I was like, I bet Ben said switch screens.
Switch the screens, talk on everything. If you have to double it for a second, And he was like, don't switch screens. I was like,
They were like,
I was like, I was like, listen, just listen. And then they did, and then didn't switch, and they talked through it.
and then when we switched it up, they did switch. They did a good job.
So, like I said,
that's our JV guys. That's our 6th graders and some 7th graders too.
You guys locking in, listening, and getting through it. So, good couple days of practice, good season so far. We're really excited about the future of both programs, the whole program all together. You know, we're always repping, you know, we want to be a part of something big. I got the AJ stuff on. You got the Jonesboro stuff on. Got it backwards today, but like I said, we're repping. I watched every single high school game so far, except for I think one where I was working. So
and we're always doing basketball stuff. I'm sure you guys know that, but we're always doing basketball stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Looking forward to what's coming ahead, but. We're actually going to switch it up a little bit today, and we're going to do some life updates. You know, like we said, we're recording this on January 5th, so this is kind of our New Year's podcast, if you want to put it that way. So some life updates. We've got some big things coming this year.
Let's start with you.
And we kind of want to, like, cap off some things that happened this last year. One thing I wanted to just kind of talk about and just, you know, be open about, this is the one place I really get to, you know, just speak my mind. So I just want to be able to talk about moving on from Wiffle Boys and selling it to Braden Benefield. I'm really excited for Braden, and I hope he knows, and I try to, like, let him know in different ways that, you know, whenever I bought Wiffle Boys in the first place, it was because of the group of guys there. The day before, you know, we were getting shut down, and I bought it from Chris and Wendy after asking them. The day before that, we had went out to Buffalo Wild Wings, worried about this meeting because we were like, oh, it might be our last day together.
It was a joke at the time, dude.
And it was, you know, me, Blake, Noah, Braden, Jimmy, you know, the 5 guys that are still here today. We went out to eat, and we were like, you know, if he shuts it down, let's just buy it. We could run it. You know,
Jimmy said it first.
And Jimmy was like, dude, somebody just buy it. We could just run it ourselves. And I was like, you know, that's not I never really thought about it like that. Like, you know, I wonder what they would say about it. And so the day came, and, you know, I was the oldest one out of them, you know, married at that time. So I was like, I need to get something going for me anyways, and this was kind of that thing. And so did it, went for it. And it's been
so fun.
It's been something that, you know, the stresses of owning a business are something that people who aren't in it will never understand. I think some of the guys that, you know, around me, I tell them about it all the time, so they kind of get the idea. But, like, it is a 24/7 on your mind, you know. You got to pay this bill. You got to make sure you ordered this. Are you going to go pick this up? You need to get this fixed.
Did you post on Facebook?
Yeah. Did you make your Facebook post? Did you, you know, check your Google reviews? How you need to update your hours.
What's happening when you're not here?
You know, are your menu prices right? Like, there's so many things that you're thinking about. You know, are my employees working when I'm not there? Like,
what did we get and not get?
How many hours do I need to work? How many days am I going to put in? Like, there was a 3-month span where I got 3 days off in that 3 months where I didn't come into this building. And all 3 of those days I got a call from somebody about it. And so it's like 3 months where I just did not get a day off. And at some point, the way, you know, just the way that money got structured, and, you know, the way the old owners wanted to get out quick, it was a 2-year payoff. So kind of doing that just kind of put me behind the hole in the very beginning. And so I just never was ever really able to catch up. I made a couple of decisions that didn't help exactly in the best time. I was a little bit too nice, wanted to support all my guys, make sure they got hours, and didn't cut them, you know, when I probably should have, and little stuff like that, and let people get away with things here and there because I'm just too nice sometimes. But it was something where, like he said, it was so fun. I got to do it with my brother. I got to do it with my best friends.
It helped us all grow up, and in a way gave us, like, kind of an extra couple years to grow up, you know. It wasn't really like a college or anything, but, you know, a couple of us needed that, where I started a business in the midst and kind of decided, like, you know, we'll get into what I could be doing next, but, like, it kind of just gave us all time to kind of figure out, like, Noah wanted to figure out what he wanted to do. It gave Braden time to mature a little bit and kind of decide, like, did he want to go get a job somewhere else or did he want to buy this place? And I think he wanted to go get a job somewhere else, but it didn't work out, God's plans. So, but yeah, it's been, not going to sit here and talk too long, but I give Ben a ton of credit because he's just shown a lot of us, like, how to be an adult. And, he was definitely ready, but maybe at times didn't feel like he was ready because a lot of us feel like kids still. So it was probably a really weird situation to have to come into, buying a business with a bunch of kids helping you. But it was so fun, and he helped us all grow up, and he set a great example for all of us of how to be a man and how to, be a husband and how to be a business owner, and kudos to him. So, this is definitely not a sad, it's sad that we're not going to all work together anymore, but selling the business isn't sad. This is like this is definitely kind of an accomplishment, I feel like, for you, for what you did, and kind of, this place could have shut down.
Yeah, that
we
was
could
my
not
thing.
be doing this right here, right now. So
Like, that was my thing. Is like I did what I was supposed to do. I kept it alive, and
Yes.
like he said, everybody else was a little bit younger, didn't all have everything, squared away.
Gave your siblings a job.
Yep, put my brother through college, but my sister got her
your
through
siblings'
through
friends.
college. They brought all their friends in. Have several people who've moved on and have full-on careers now. Have a lot of guys that are in college who used to work for me and played basketball for me. So many guys, even back to when I was a manager and basically hiring people. All those guys have grown up and have kids and wives and, careers and jobs and stuff like that. And just seeing all these people, mature and grow has been really the best part of it. It's about the people that I worked with, and the people that I served were awesome as well. We had a lot of great support from a lot of people, and so
Still
many
do.
repeat customers, so many people who tell us how awesome we are, and they feel the vibe in here.
Yeah.
It's always just fun. We're always in here laughing, making jokes, playing games, and knocking out food whenever it gets busy.
Yeah, my stepmom literally got me a basketball game for us to play for whenever it got slow. So, I mean, it's a family in here. And like you said, repeat customers, every place has them, but we've got so many of them. We've got people that not only do we know by name, but we know their order by their name, handfuls of them. So it's been such an experience, and we've built relationships with tons of new people. I made friends working here that I feel like I probably wouldn't have never really been friends with. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a chance for me to grow up and kind of be a leader too, because I've been one of the older ones of the group. So, I've loved every single second of it, and I don't know what I'll do next. I'll definitely be here until the end of basketball season, probably even throughout the summer. Probably find something new sometime soon, but, you never know. First I said I'd never work here. Then I started working here because I had to get a job. And then I said I wouldn't be here for 5 years because I didn't want to be like Braden. Now Braden's been here 10 years, and I've been here 5, and I'm about to help him kind of, transfer over, and I'm not going to leave him hanging. I'm going to really help him the best I can. So I don't know what's next, but this place has been great, and I've given it really all I've been able to, just like you have. So I've really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed doing this with Ben. This has been so fun. So.
Yeah, being able to, I went from having Jake Parr in here to talk to every lunch day about sports, and then Blake started working here, and now once he graduated high school, started talking to him every lunch day about sports, and, having somebody like that to talk to about sports and life, and, having watched a lot of these guys grow up, and then, obviously my special shout out to, Braden. I couldn't have done this without you. This was all kind of in the back of my head. If it didn't work out, it was all kind of for you.
Yeah.
And I just hope he knows that, and how much I appreciate all he's done for me, and how much I hope that this works out for him. And I'm not trying to leave him a rock that's going to make him sink. I hope they do it a little bit differently than I did, and I hope I leave him in a better place than where it was before. And I feel like I have, and I feel like it's in a good enough place where if you have the time and the money and energy, and he has his parents and his brother to help him out, and my family's all got a whole bunch of jobs and stuff going on, and everybody's growing up and moving and leaving. It's like it was just kind of
It was
time.
time. And Braden was ready. Braden is ready.
Braden is ready. Braden was about to leave, and I offered him a full-time position when we didn't have the money for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so you are ready.
Yeah.
And he was ready, and he stepped up and proved he was ready. And that's why I knew in my heart that it was right. He's been here longer than I have. He was the one who was supposed to own it in the beginning, and it's finally his. And I'm really proud of him, and I wish nothing but the best for him.
Braden is a wiffle boy.
He is.
Braden
he
is the wiffle boy.
It's
Yeah,
like,
he is the wiffle boy.
I've always said it. I said it to my parents when I bought it. I was like, I've never felt like wiffle boy. Like I'm Mr. Wiffle Boy. It's like Braden is wiffle boy. Like you see wiffle boys, you think of Braden, and I've
Everybody
always
does.
felt that. So I wish nothing but the best for him. I'll always be here for him if he ever needs anything. I'm not leaving quite yet. Still looking for a new job. Not sure exactly what I'm gonna do next. Got a couple different things I've talked about and had offers for. So, we'll see what comes next with that. But I got another big thing coming up I got to worry about.
Braden, we still need a place to do a podcast.
Yeah, Braden texted me today and was like, you guys doing a podcast tonight? I was like, yeah, 8:30. Is that okay? He's like, yeah, I'm just going to tell my parents to not come in there and start cleaning. I was like,
that's awesome.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your
Braden.
parents coming
Shout
in
out
and
the
helping you
parents,
out.
too.
So,
that's...
Yeah.
Thank you, Wiffle Boys.
Thank you, Wiffle Boys. Thank you, Braden. Thank you, Chris and Wendy, for the original opportunity. You guys helped me, gave me the opportunity to manage it, and then gave me the opportunity to own it and run it with my friends. And we had a great time these last 3.5 years. Like every day coming to work, it might suck having to work, but when you got to work with who we got to work with, it was nothing but a blast.
Yeah.
So I can't really complain about it. It just got to the point where God was just telling me it's time.
Yeah.
Every bills add up. Certain doors open and close in a certain way. Like it's just time. And I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do next, but I'm feeling the call from God to, follow Him and do what I'm supposed to do.
So what is next, Ben? What's the big announcement here, brother?
Well, I'm gonna be becoming a father to a son in May, so we're excited to announce that. Well, I'm not going to say the name on the podcast just in case we decide to change it. But as of right now, it's a boy. We got a big doctor's appointment tomorrow. We get to see the 3D image and do all the extra tests to make sure everything's going good. And so we're excited for that. I'm excited. It's a boy.
Yep.
I wanted a boy first. You can give me as many girls after that as you want, but I got my boy. It's locked in, and so I'm really excited about that. And that was another thing that factored into the Wiffle Boys' decision was I need more time for my family, and I need if I wanted Wiffle Boys to be successful, I had to give everything, all of my time, all of my money, all my effort, and I didn't have that to give with a child on the way. And so that was another reason I had to kind of move on. And being a dad has been one of those things that I've always kind of wanted to be. And I've had, we had a miscarriage last year, which was really hard, but it was something that we really learned a lot from. Obviously, we have 2 dogs now, and they've been going through a lot recently. I know you've got Arthur and all of your cats you've gone through. But, at being a pet owner, you start to get that little, you feel that love for something, and I can't even imagine the multiplication it is with a baby because, I've had my little baby Luna. She's a 9-month-old dog. She's been sick as could be. Her back leg stopped working, got sick, and then a couple of weeks later got her on some good medicine, met with a couple of different doctors, and, she's doing a lot better now. So it's one of those things where you're like, just that feeling of like helplessness I felt with my dog.
Yeah.
I just can't even imagine now how I'm going to feel with a baby.
Yeah, for sure. You're going to do great. I don't have a lot to say, but you're going to do great. It's crazy for me, and I'm excited. I don't know if I'm the godfather or if I'm just the side Uncle Blake. But, yeah. No, I don't, I don't have dogs.
Blake.
I don't really have. Yeah, from the womb, we're going to.
I'm going to sign the contract now.
Catch this. So, yeah, no. But, yeah, I'm excited for you. That's awesome.
Those are my life updates. Obviously, some big things. Like I said, I'm on the job hunt right now.
I was about to say, hit them up if you're looking to hire.
Yeah, honestly.
At least give them just an idea and let them think about it.
Looking for ideas. Looking for, people to call and talk to that you trust. And so I'm obviously I'm not against working hard and working as much as possible, looking for something with, normal work hours. But besides that, no real complaints about anything. I'm getting a little old, so I don't know if physical labor is quite my thing anymore. But
He can still dunk, so if that tells you anything.
yeah, I can still put it down a little bit. But now we got some life updates for Blake. Blake did some really cool stuff this last year. Obviously, everybody knows him from his TikToks now because he's famous on there. But no, he got to go out to California, which is something that I could have never really dreamed of, like him actually doing, and going out and doing this with basically strangers that he met online, which is, it sounds crazy until you really hear the story about how they met. Who is your buddy DShawn?
I was about to say, do you want to just ask me questions, or do you want me to kind of?
I mean, I can kind of see your bullet points. So
If I forget anything, you.
Yeah. Who's DShawn? People have probably seen a little bit of stuff from your guys' 1v1 stuff, or seen you hyping him up and retweeting, resnapping, all sharing on TikTok,
everything.
all that good stuff. Who is he? How'd you meet him? What kind of guy is he?
Yeah, I'll talk kind of from my point of view, obviously, because he's not here. But at some point, we want to get him on. I know that after he, gets done with this big run of traveling he's going to do and all these one-on-one events he's going to be in, he definitely wants to get on the pod. So we'll get him on. We'll pick his brain, let him kind of tell his life story. But I'll kind of talk about how we met and how we got so close so quick. Like August of 2024. I'd been posting stuff on Instagram for a while, just day in the life videos and stuff, and I started using TikTok. Originally, I was against TikTok out of high school, and I didn't have it, but I saw something talking about posting on numerous things. I was like, well, TikTok's a good outlet, so I started using it, and me and him were doing a 30-day challenge at the same time. Basically, just for 30 days straight, you post a day in the life video. He saw mine, basically like, he liked it for sure, but then he actually commented and hit me up telling me, it's pretty cool what you're doing. I'm doing the same thing. And we hit it off immediately in August of 2024. Pretty sure I got his number, and I don't know if it was the night of us kind of connecting on TikTok or if it was that week, but we FaceTimed. I got his number and we FaceTimed, and like you said, that's weird, meeting somebody online. It was definitely weird, but I grew up in that era, you grew up in that era. You can usually feel it out when somebody's got the right vibe or intentions, or if it's any bit weird, I know to get out of the situation. So I always kind of vibed with DShawn, and he had enough stuff posted on his social medias that I was like, all right, he ain't a weirdo, So we FaceTimed, and I remember we were just kind of going through each other, who we were, feeling it out, and then he was like, yeah, I played college ball in California, that's where I grew up, and then I went to Greenville, and I said, Greenville? Greenville? Greenville, is it the Panthers?
Yeah, something like that.
It's Panthers or something, like the Orange School? He was like, yeah, in Illinois. And I was like, no way. Our high school team goes there and plays over the summer. So we immediately kind of, just vibed out there. We both connected really hard. And I think we talked on the phone for 2 or 3 hours that night, FaceTiming, talking about different things, His big thing with me after looking at my social media accounts was he said he could always tell how dedicated I was to the game because of the stuff I was posting every day and how much I posted it and how I played basketball and everything. And so I think that's where we really connected, was both having a love for the game. I think he'll be 27 this year.
Yeah.
I'll turn 25 this year, so he's only 2 years older than me. But yeah, he went to high school in California and then played college ball there. Then he went to Greenville, and then after going to Greenville, he was about to move back in with his parents in California, and they moved to Dallas. So then he moved back to Dallas and stayed there. We stayed connected for about a year. We always threw the idea around about, let's link up, bro. Let's meet up, And I've said that to people before, whether you meet them on Fortnite, you become their friend, or, they start following you on something else, or maybe you play against them one time and high school or for your instance college, and then you're like, bro, let's link up and be friends, and it never really happens till later. But I don't know, I'm growing up and I'm getting confident and coaching basketball in Southern Illinois is great, but I've always wanted to play, and I still feel like competitiveness to still go play. You know what I mean? So over the past year of knowing DShawn, he is in the social media scene, not necessarily like, the BS side of it, because I know there's a side of it that's more, clips, not real basketball, people like, doing crazy stuff. He's into like the playing one-on-one for money, and I feel like that side of it gets kind of serious. There can be a part of it that isn't as serious, but it gets kind of serious. And so watching him do what he did, he's an AAU coach. He was a college basketball player. He trains, he posts social media content. He plays on one-on-ones. I mean, he honestly, like, when I first met him, I didn't realize what he was doing, but I was watching kind of his story. And then as I watched over the last year, I was like, man, he is literally creating a name for himself by himself. He was buying rental cars to drive him across the, states and going and playing in a one-on-one here by himself and finding somewhere to stay, and then like spending all of, I'll get to it, but like he's spending all of his money that he can to make sure that these opportunities arise for him, and then he's going and showing out. And so like I'm meeting this guy through social media because, we're clicking, but then I'm getting on social media and I'm seeing other posts about this guy, and I'm like, okay, hang on a second. This guy may be kind of like, he may already have his foot in the door. Like, he may be legit, because I didn't kind of, get that at the beginning. No offense, Sean. Love you, but no offense.
No, I'll be honest. Whenever I first,
yeah, I'll let you talk first.
Heard you talking about it, I was like, you mean like you just like had some dude comment on TikTok and you just like FaceTimed him?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I'm just like a little bit old. I don't know. I'm not a big FaceTime guy personally. Like, I'm not completely against it. Just a little bit like weird to me in a sense. But I get there's a lot of people who do that. And so like, doing that with a complete stranger, I was like, bro, that's kind of odd. And he's like, and then I'd see him on the phone. I was like, who you talking to? Dylan? Your mom? Lexa, whatever. Like, and he's like, DShawn. I was like, who the fuck is DShawn?
No, literally.
And so we'd, I'd be like, he'd be like, talking to him on FaceTime while we're working. I'd like walk by and like hear their conversation, like, oh, no, he sounds like a legit cool dude. And then, I'd hear him on, while we're playing, while they're talking on the phone, we're playing video games, and like he'd start, ask a question, and I'd like, yeah, I've heard about that, that's pretty cool, dude. And so once I heard him talk, and heard how they did a lot of stuff, saw some of his 1v1 stuff and social media stuff, was like, no, this dude's like legit. He's a worker. He's got his head on straight. Like, he's not one of those crazy guys. He's not searching for clout. He's not searching for somebody to be a fanboy. Like, he saw somebody that was doing the same thing. And so he appreciated that, and I was like, all right, it's not as weird as I thought.
Yeah,
so.
And DShawn doesn't get this, and I even told him and his buddy Ty that, and I'll get to Ty here in a little bit, but they don't understand. It's so surreal to me, because not that they're, celebrities or superheroes to me, but just to see what they're doing, and like, just luckily he saw my TikTok, and like then we connected enough to FaceTime, because he could have very easily been like, this guy's weird. You know what I mean? Like, he could have thought the same thing we were thinking in the beginning too. And he didn't. So, here we are.
Well, and us being in such a bubble in Southern Illinois.
Dude, that's the crazy and they don't get it. No. DShawn's going to come out here eventually, but they don't get it.
We have Carbondale and Marion, and you can go to Cape, or you can go to Paducah, but like,
a lot of people know SIU. If you say SIU, they're like, oh, yeah.
So, like, we have a D1 program. Like, we have two within the area, but like, they're both, not major D1.
Yeah.
And like,
they're also not AJ.
The only big cities around us is like, you go to St. Louis, that's 2.5, 3 hours away. Nashville's 3.5 hours away. Chicago's 5 hours. Indianapolis is 4.5, 5 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, to go anywhere big is so far away from us. Like, that for anybody in Southern Illinois to get seen, you have to just make it on social media, or be like that.
Yeah, or be traveling. You have to be traveling. Yeah. And it's not being big that's the thing. It's not like that's what we're chasing. But being big is where you get the exposure to get to do what you love, which is going to kind of lead us into what's next. So, Sean's...
How did you guys end up going to California together? That's the part that
that's
just did not really add up. FaceTime is one thing, but going with somebody to California.
Yeah.
How'd that go together?
I mean, honestly, just like you would, you meet somebody, say in school that you become friends with, or you meet somebody online, you start playing with them every day. There became a time between August of 2024 and August of 2025 where every single day, me and him were texting and or calling. Like, and I think at one point we had both agreed, like, this is a challenge we're going to do. Let's do this challenge every day, a certain amount of push-ups, a certain amount of, so we were talking every single day. It just got like, it became normal, even to where I kind of told my mom like who he was. And I don't know if he ever talked to my mom, but he definitely knows who she is. He knows who, he is and everything. So anyway, I just saw him playing in all these one-on-ones and stuff. And I was like, dude, something in me feels like I could do that. And he, without hesitation, was like, oh yeah, you could. So you could do that. And that's kind of always been the big thing that helped me and Sean connect, is that he, I feel like Coach Mike was the first person that ever was like, yes, you're good at basketball. And DShawn is like that second person that's like came in and been like, yeah, bro, you're like that. And he always has been that. So that day when I was like, I feel like I could do that, he was like, you could, just come with me. And I was like, you'd be willing for me to like come with you, and it kind of worked out for him because like I was able to support him being able to go. And we won't get into all that, but I don't know. It kind of worked out to where he was like, I feel like if you planted yourself in the scene and you really kind of just went out there and inserted yourself and wasn't afraid to talk to people and make conversations and play, he was like, I feel like you could definitely get a chance. And being who he is already and what he's done, he spent the last year playing in 4 to 5 different events and making a name for himself. So he met some of these guys. And so basically, the next chapter, to kind of dumb it down for some people listening will already know what this is, others won't, but the next chapter is a one-on-one league. And, they do some 2-on-2, 3-on-3 stuff, but they originated from a guy who started making content where he would just drive around the states and find parks or open gyms or college runs or whatever and make YouTube videos of them playing. And then one day he was like, we bet money on us playing. Let's co-found and figure out a way to create a league. So they created the next chapter. And now it's became a wave over the next, over the last 2 to 3 years. There's been other platforms pop up, I guess you would call it, Off the Dribble, Bucks, The Cage. There's a lot of them. Even I'm not very familiar with them yet, but Bucks is one of them. And so DShawn somehow, I'm sure he told me, I don't remember, he got close with Bucks, and Bucks, that's his stage name, but his actual name's Ryan Perilla, and he is one of the most recent people who's kind of blown up on the next chapter. So he gets, I wouldn't say paid big bucks, it's not like pro athletes, but you're not going into a gym full of these people on the next chapter and betting the guy next to you $100 to play. Like, some of the first one-on-one games in their events will be played for like $1,000 or $10,000, and then the last games will be played for upwards of $25,000 to $50,000. So you've got these guys playing 50. I mean, if you're putting $50,000 each on the line, that's $100,000 you're playing for. Like that, so that's crazy for me to think about. And so Ryan's on there, and somehow DShawn being from California and Ryan being from California, I guess, that's one thing I'll talk about DShawn and Ty real quick. They're great with people. So it's like you said, they started asking questions. You knew exactly who they were talking about. That's how both of them are. Like, they're young, but it's almost like they've been everywhere already. They'd be talking about, GOI's got in the car with us while we were in California, and Ty just knew them already. It was like, bro, I watched you play last year at so-and-so, and he was like, I remember that. And like, they hit it off like they knew each other forever, and they never talked. So they're really good about that, but I guess that's how DShawn met Ryan. And so Ryan starts his own platform called Bucks Island, because Ryan's stage name is Bucks. And I assume Buck stands for buckets. I never got the clarification on that, but I mean, it makes sense. You know what I mean? So he started the platform, and Sean invited me the first one, but it just didn't pan out. I think half of it was I was too nervous still and scared. Kind of the same thing you were saying. I just didn't really want to do that yet. But then the second time around, after Sean, shout out Sean, drove from Dallas, Texas to San Jose, California for Bucks Island, the first one, with 3 of his buddies, and they documented it. He won. They drove 27 hours. He won his game. They stayed and hung out with Ryan a little bit and some of the other guys. and then drove back and, went about their ways. And I didn't get to go to that one. But then Sean was like, well, we're going to go back. If you want to fly into Dallas, stay for a week, and then drive with us, and then you can fly from California back. And I was like, bet, let's do that. So we planned on that because I wanted to meet him first, go to Dallas, meet him, hang out,
Yeah,
if it doesn't, if it doesn't work, then I could just, if it doesn't work, I could just go back home, bail on him. But that didn't work out. Bucks got pushed back because Ryan was playing in a certain event they had going on in Indianapolis or something. So they were playing, the next chapter had something going on. Ryan had to push it back. So they push it back. I have to reschedule my flights, an extra $400 because I have to rebuy tickets and all that. I end up not being able to go to Dallas. So the plan then is I'll go to California and then go back to Dallas afterwards and hang out with Sean for a little bit. Because Sean does a lot of like training with pro trainers and like playing, college runs and doing AAU coaching and stuff. So he's in the gym all the time. It's kind of my lifestyle. He just wanted me to get accustomed to that and kind of us build a bond. And so that was the plan the second time through. Fell through too for other reasons we're not going to get into. Basically, to put it very, like, just to tell you how it was, I was protecting myself. Like, just trying to put myself in the best scenario to not get hurt, get in trouble, or, make sure I get back home. So I ended up flying from St. Louis to Ontario, California, buying my own rental car, driving my own rental car 6 hours from Ontario to San Jose, California. And then they met me there in their own rental car with someone else they brought. And we all stayed in an Airbnb for 2 nights and then 3 nights. Yeah, 3 nights. And then I drove back on a Monday. I drove back to Ontario on a Monday morning and then flew back home from Ontario that Monday night. So that's kind of how the traveling went. But yeah, kudos to Sean for building that, the first time through. That way I would be able to do it the second time and have faith in myself to do it, because it's scary. And why would you do it? Kind of like you said, but it was just one of those things. It's Southern Illinois. It's a bubble. And so if you're okay with that, it's all good, but I'm not okay with that. Like, I want to go do more. And so I felt like, could I do something else? But Sean was like he was like giving me a handout. He's like, bro, if you come with me, I promise you I'll set you up.
And you bet on him too by, putting your money where your mouth is. You're like, going to California, like you said, you flew from here to there and then drove from here to there and then,
4 flights.
Had to change the flights and, you helped, financially help them get out there too. And so
we bought each other's meals. Sean covered me one night. I had to cover Sean 2 nights. Sean had to cover Ty. Ty had to cover, we took care of each other while we were there.
You bet on him. You bet on yourself, and you got yourself out there.
Created a brotherhood for sure.
How was the event? Like, how was the actual, Bucks Island event once you got out there?
So the first night we got to get into the gym before everybody else got in there, got a little workout in. They had never seen me play. So Ty played college ball. Ty is Sean's friend. They met in high school. They were rivals. They played against each other. And Sean played college ball. So we got in there and we started going through a college workout. And mind you, I've had people rebound for me, but I've never really gotten through a workout. You know what I mean? So I went through a workout with Sean, and Ty just kind of put us through it. And they were not to glaze myself, but they were amazed. They were like, dude, your footwork is so good in person, and your handle's so strong, and your shot's so consistent. And they were like, and you flew today, and you drove? And I was like, yeah, dude, and I had just flown from St. Louis to Dallas, from Dallas to Ontario, and then drove from Ontario to San Jose. So it was tough, but it was fun, and it was very eye-opening to what I could do. And so the next day was Bucks Island, and we wake up that morning, which is crazy, and he's already on the phone with Ryan, the guy putting it on, and Ryan's like, GeoWise needs a ride. If you don't know who GeoWise is, I'm sorry, but GeoWise is a content creator who, again, not a celebrity by any means, but he's a guy I've been watching for a little bit. So I was kind of Ryan, I was asleep. Sean was over here. I heard Ryan say what he said, and Sean was like, hang on, let me ask Blake. And before Sean could even say what he said, I was already turned over like this, and I was like, we can pick him up. We got him. So we went and picked him up, hung out with GeoWise all morning, and then we go to the event. Hung out with GeoWise and Ryan, by the way. So, not just going to these events, we're going to, Ryan's house, meeting those guys, kind of chopping it up with them. The event was great. I'm sure Bucks Island was good, but Bucks Island 2 was much, much better. And it was, I think, 6 or 8 games. I don't know. I think it was an even amount of games, though. I don't remember. And it was like a 2-on-2 game, 5 1-on-1 games, and then, a 3-on-3 game or whatever at the end. Because Ryan was going to play a 1-on-1 game, but his knee was hurt, so he didn't want to push it because they had an event coming up. So the event was great. I mean, it was, everything I kind of expected. It's what you see online if you're ever into that stuff or watching it. But the second one was very well put together. There was a lot of people that I was able to meet that I'd seen on social. It was kind of like going to an NBA game, meeting NBA players, except these guys are people that aren't as well known, but I know them. So I'm meeting, I met Noah Blackwell. I met, obviously, Ryan. I met Ty and Sean, but I also met this guy named YP, and then I met Trevor Dunbar, who's the shift team general. I met Gio Wise. I met a couple other, guys that play one-on-ones that just great people who are really good at basketball and do a lot of the stuff that I think is pretty cool. You know what I mean? So it was a great event. It was fun. I did leave for a game to go get some pizza. Me and Ty did. So that was fun. But came back after we went out, I never really went out before, so that was kind of fun. Got to build connections with some people then, and we were out for a while, and then we went back that night, and when we went out is whenever they were like, well, let's hoop the next day. Sure. First they were like, do you hoop?
Brother.
Why do you think I'm here? Shout out Sean and all. I was definitely there to support
I do play
you.
soccer, but I like to hoop.
Yes. I know I look like you guys, all those Filipinos from Cali, but I was like, I hoop. So that was the plan, was to get in the gym the next day, and that's what we did. Dude, it was something that before I went, because I'm who I am, I would have imagined it in my head, you know what I mean? But it played out a little differently. And so when we got in the gym to hoop, obviously they're just getting in there to have their fun. I'm getting in there to prove I can hoop, because I just it was some guys that weren't really basketball players, but it was 3 guys that actually played. Ryan played in the event, Gio played in the event, Sean played in the event, and YP played in the event, and Don played in the event. So there was 5 guys in that gym that night that played in the event, and then there was 2 cameramen. So it was this is my first time ever being in front of a camera, one, and then playing against guys who are comp, so you'd say. And so I just did the best I could to show out. And I've been hitting up YP trying to get my one-on-one film, because my one-on-one film is so much better than my 3-on-3 stuff. But he's just not, I guess he just don't vibe with me really as much as he did the other guys, because he won't get back with me, which is fine. But, we played ones, we played threes. We played 2 games of 1-on-1 to 11. I won the first one, and then I had 10 in the second one, and Ryan hit the game winner on me before I could get 11. So if that tells you anything, 5 guys played in that event. I busted ass the first game. It was. I wish I had the film. You can ask Sean, you can ask Ty. And then the second game, I basically picked up where I left off, and then kind of missed a shot at the end that was an easy layup, and then I had those guys kind of surprised. And so we played threes. It was good. You can find that stuff on YouTube if you want to go watch that. YP the Barber posted some, and GOI's posted some, so you can find that stuff. But shout out Ty. At the very end, Ty was basically just telling Ryan kind of my story, who I am, how Sean met me. Ty had just met me 48 hours ago, but he was telling Ryan how good of a dude I was, and he's a great basketball player and this and that, and he loves the game, and he tries to put on for the kids. And Ryan's the type of guy that is trying to put on for other people. They're really good people. They treated us with love the whole time we were there. And so when Ryan heard that, he yelled across the gym. He's like, Blake. And I was like, yeah, he called me Blakey. Blakey. I was like, what? He's like, I'm trying to give you a matchup. You want one? And I was like, you want me to play? Yeah, I'll play whoever. I'll play whoever. You could give me someone that'll beat me 30-0, and I'll play whoever. So, that's how that came about. He basically he got me a matchup. Ever since then, I've been trying to get myself right. I got myself on a workout program. I've been lifting. Probably added about 10 to 15 pounds of weight. I wouldn't say it's all muscle, but I've added weight, and I've stayed pretty strong in the midst. it's hard doing all of that, staying focused on basketball season and doing film. And, I haven't tagged any Jonesboro film in a while, so I'll have to get back to that. But my goal right now is to stay locked in, because originally it was supposed to be this upcoming weekend, the 10th and the 11th. And because Ryan has a one-on-one match in the UK, now they're pushing it back to either January 31st or February 7th. If I know, Ryan, I doubt you ever listen to this, but if you ever do, if I know you at all, this ain't going to be until the middle of February, if not March. And that's okay with me, because I've got basketball seasons to finish. But if it's January 31st or February 7th, I'll be there. I've been getting ready. I feel pretty confident. I think if we're being honest, and I can be vulnerable on here, the biggest thing that I'm nervous about is the cameras and the people. But I videotape myself. I've played in men's leagues in front of a camera. I've played in some big games in high school. I've played in a big game since then in the Northside versus Southside game. I obviously played in front of all of those guys in their home gym at California. I've put in a lot of work, so without sitting here and going too much into that, I feel confident in all of the work that I've put in before any of this ever come up. And then since this has come up the last year, I've been quietly really getting after it, getting up at 4:30, lifting at 5, being in the gym at 6. And so that leads me to my matchup. Seems like a good dude. I don't know a lot about him. I'm not really a shit talker or anything. I'm not going to get in here and talk all crazy. And, I've never done that unless someone really provokes me. So I don't see myself doing that during the one-on-ones. I'm sure some people are going to see this and go look at some of those one-on-ones. They're going to be like, oh, my God, this is crazy. Like, that's not me. I play for the love of the game. I play to prove to myself and to other people that I'm as good as I've always felt that I am. And so that's my goal the whole time. If someone provokes me, you might see me talk a little crazy. You might see me, but I probably won't. It'll strictly just be the experience for me. And I think that once I get in there, it'll be just like getting in there with all of those guys. I'll hit a shot and I'll be good to go. The guy I'm playing is a little bit taller, played college ball, but I think he's older, probably about 28 or 29, which makes me feel more confident that maybe he's lost a step. He's a trainer, so I'm sure he looks pretty skilled. If you want to go watch his game, he played on the cage against a guy named Kobe. It's on YouTube, so his name's Landon Garcia. But yeah, I feel pretty confident going in there and playing against him. I think I got Ryan on my side. Maybe not, but I think I got some people that'll bet on me, and that's kind of what it is. I could talk all day about it, but I think I covered just about everything. I rambled a lot because I wanted to cover everything, but I think that is everything. I've been putting in work. I'm ready for it. It'll be soon. We're going to learn from our lesson this time and not count on other people to get us film. We're going to document the entire thing, me, DShawn and Tyler, because Tyler and DShawn are also playing. So Tyler will probably have a 2-on-2 game or maybe a 3-on-3 game with someone, and then I think DShawn is going to play a guy named Bosco. So that'll be Bucks Island 3. I'll be on my first one-on-one event. Seems crazy to even say. Seems kind of surreal to even talk about. And then coming up here in July, I'll be on my second one. If Bucks falls through, it'll be my first one, but Bucks is probably for sure. So it'll be my second one. I'll be playing in Dallas and DShawn's event. So.
Well, it was a blessing that you got to go and meet many good people, because there are a lot of dirtbags and snakes out in
They
this
treated
world.
us with so much love. You have no Sunday morning, Ryan invited us into his house, and they had people out there making videos and on TikTok Live, and they had Christian music going, and they were just great vibes, great people. Very loving, maybe talk a little bit here and there, just because they're fun. But, the guy that DShawn has played twice and beat twice now, both times was hanging out with us afterwards, vibing with us. I've got a picture of all of us sitting in the locker room, and we're just chopping it up. And they're just great people. They're people like us that you want to be around. So you're right. It was such a blessing. And I think the entire time, from the time that I was about to leave until the time I stepped foot back in my house, I was on edge. Just like, what am I doing? Like, we were walking down a random street in the middle of a Saturday, like in California, to go get food, and I was just like, you step back for a second, you're like, I just met these people 24 hours ago.
I was in Anna, Illinois, just a little bit ago.
Planes are flying over, and I'm like, I was just in one of those. I got to get back in one of those. So I'm excited to go back. I'll fly again. I'll probably get a rental car again. If anyone wants to go with me and help document my journey, Mason, let me know. I would love help, but I'm super excited. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to finish out basketball season 2, obviously. May miss a game or two. I'm sure that the team will understand, but yeah, and then hopefully there will be some more opportunities opened up from there, and all of this just stems from wanting to prove something to myself and wanting to compete against other people who are better at basketball than what I've seen. So that's not taking anything away from people here, but those people do a lot of the cool stuff that I like. So
yeah, well, and you've sacrificed to get to the point where you're at. Like you said, getting up at 4:30, spending money to go out there. You're going to spend more money on yourself, and like you said, you're going to bet on yourself. So like, you've sacrificed a lot to do what you've done. You give up all your time to, help coach at the high school, and then come help at the junior high, and you go home and do film, and then you go play at the junior high. You go play at Anaheim. You go play, at Paducah with, the college team. You go all these different runs and open gyms, and, still find time to work out. Do training in the off season, all this different stuff. So you've put the work in to get where you're at, and you've sacrificed a lot to get where you're at, and that's really what the key is to it. And
For sure.
You know what you want, and you've really put everything into it.
Yeah.
And so
I'm definitely blessed. I'm blessed.
Yeah,
for sure.
and
it's been crazy.
I
deserve it. I will say that.
Yes.
I deserve it.
It takes a little bit of luck, and obviously things having to fall the right way, but. The way you get blessed is by putting in the work.
Yeah.
The way to get an opportunity is to prove that you deserve that opportunity. And
I've had a lot of them fall through.
it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of them fall through too. So,
which is also sometimes, sadly, for a reason.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's something you wish you could have done. It's like, well, I guess that wasn't supposed to be this time.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Kind of going off of sacrifice, and I want to go over. We want to wrap up. It's been over a little over an hour now, so we want to wrap up the pod. But I want to wrap up with a Bible passage. It's about sacrifice. It's about how sacrifice is the key in all aspects of life. This is from Matthew 19. This is verses 16 through 30. It says, "Just then a man came up to Jesus and asked, 'Teacher, what good thing must I do to get eternal life?' 'Why do you ask me about what is good?' Jesus replied. 'There is only one who is good. If you want to enter life, keep the commandments.' 'Which ones?' he inquired. Jesus replied, 'You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony. Honor your father and mother, and love your neighbor as yourself.' 'All these I have kept,' the young man said. 'What do I still lack?' Jesus answered, 'If you want to be perfect, go, sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me.' When the young man heard this, he went away sad, because he had great wealth. Then Jesus said to his disciples, 'Truly I tell you, it is hard for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of heaven. Again I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of heaven of God.' When the disciples heard this, they were greatly astonished and asked, 'Who then can be saved?' Jesus looked at them and said, 'With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible.' Peter answered him, 'We have left everything to follow you. What then will there be left for us?' Jesus said to them, 'Truly I tell you, at the renewal of all things, when the Son of Man sits on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or fathers or mother or wife or children or fields for my sake will receive 100 times as much and will inherit eternal life. But many who are first will be last, and many who are last will be first.'" This came from Jesus talking to this young man who comes up, and he's basically just asking, "Jesus, how do I get saved? What do I got to do?" And Jesus, says, "Well, follow commandments." And he's like, "Well, I follow all the rules. I'm a good, I'm a good Jewish man." And Jesus says, "Well, then if you're so good, go give up everything you have and follow me. And he looks at him, he walks away. He's like, I can't give up everything. I've worked all my life to get all of these different things. This is my, family's inheritance, and I've got to pass this down to my next generations. Well, sometimes I feel like we get caught up in some of those moments, and I definitely have. Also, like I said, I've had this calling to move on from Wiffle Boys, and this is one of those things where I was like, I can't sacrifice myself for the need of money, for the need of pride. The only thing I can sacrifice myself for is God at this point, and that's kind of where you have to get to. Like we said with Blake, he loves basketball. He's been given the opportunity, and he needs to go for it, and he has to sacrifice. And in all aspects of life, we have to do this. In sports, obviously. In school, you've got to work hard. You got to do your homework in your free time. When you go to work, you got to give up a lot of things. You got to do things you don't want to do. If you have dreams and goals and aspirations, you've got to give up a lot of things. You have to sacrifice a lot of things. And in relationships, you have to do that more than ever.
If you want to run a podcast, you got to sacrifice your sleep. You got to be up at 11 o'clock.
But with God, the sacrifice has been made for us through Jesus. Now, all he asks for you is to trust and obey him. So obviously, like he says to the young man, follow my commandments and then follow me. Give up all these earthly things. Give up all the worldly things and come and follow me. And then he goes on to talk about how the disciples are like, well, what's left for us? Well, he says to them, everyone who follows me and everyone who gives up things for my sake will receive 100 times as much in heaven. And, the people who are last shall be first. The people who are first shall be last. So don't be afraid to sacrifice, and don't be afraid to follow God. Follow what he's calling you to do. Spread the word, It's something that I definitely have probably one of my biggest fears is telling people about God and how I'm a Christian, having those deep conversations where I don't always have the answers to the questions, and I get scared and I don't want to do it. But to really sacrifice and obey God and be in a relationship with him, you have to trust and obey that what he's commanding you to do is for a reason.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
So he wants a relationship with you. And like we said, a relationship takes sacrifice. And sometimes sacrifice means giving up a dream that's just not what he wants you to do. Sometimes it is going for something so hard where you sacrifice everything else because that's what God has laid out for you to do. And so whatever it is, whenever you sacrifice for God's will and you make sure that you're doing it for him and not for your own selfish needs, you will get repaid in some way. It might not be by success, it might not be by money, but it will be through God's eyes, and things will come out in the way of his plan. And so we just have to trust and obey that's leads us where we need to go. You got to believe in him. You got to ball out, which means sometimes that comes to sacrificing. On a basketball team, sometimes you have to be the guy who gets 0 points. Maybe you got to be the guy that doesn't get the rebound. You got to box somebody out.
Yep.
Maybe you set the screen and they don't give it to you on the roll. He goes and scores.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to be the guy who sacrifices. And so that happens in life, in relationships, and in every aspect of life. And so that's what this passage said to me, and I hope that somebody got something out of that. And once again, we appreciate anybody who listens to all of this, anybody who watches all of this. It's gone longer than we were hoping for, but we're just out here having fun. Obviously, we're having great conversations with each other and just kind of talking about different things, giving life updates and coaching updates and different things like that. So
and we'll keep doing these. I'm sure that as we both enter new avenues of life, these are going to get even more interesting because we won't. We talk every single day, so it's nothing right now to get in here and kind of make something up to talk about. But I feel like a lot of times we don't know what to talk about. So I think that, once we kind of start doing other things, it'll be a lot easier to get in here and
we'll have a whole bunch of stuff to talk
we'll need
about.
to update each other like a bunch of girls. So
yeah.
But yeah, we We can't express how much we appreciate you guys just listening and loving what we talk about and giving us the opportunity to just kind of yap and tell you guys about our life and things that we do and what we love to do and what our plan is. So I feel like God is always putting basketball in my life as a platform, as a way to talk about him. And I've not always done a great job about it. And even now at 24 years old, I still don't do a great job about it. But I think that I've now officially figured out that that's why I do basketball, whether it's coaching, training, playing, posting stuff on social media. I just feel like that's my platform and that's my way to reach other people, other kids, and kind of spread the gospel. So I'm, like we've said before we even started this, I'm forever blessed for that platform, and it's grown. It's been fun. I was walking around the other at a tournament. I saw people going, Blake P hoop, like, and I was like, that's crazy. Like I'd never thought that, but so yeah, we are blessed, and we're thankful for you guys that support us as coaches, as podcasters, as a business owner, as whatever you guys support us and how you support us. We appreciate it so much because it doesn't go unnoticed, and we'd love for you to like it, but texting us, telling us face to face, like, how much you love the podcast, that means so much more to us. We're not doing this for, money or anything like that. We just want to meet people and talk. And
we want to start having
interviews.
So please, if you want to be on the podcast, text us, and we will find a
for
time.
any reason. We can talk about sports, or we can interview you and actually get to know you. You can.
If you want to just knock out some hot takes, we'll do a little bit of research and do some hot takes with you. If you want to go over your life story, if you want to go over
showcase
your
yourself,
devotional, if you want to talk about some future ideas you have, some if you have any goals or aspirations that you want to get out there, like anything, we just want to talk to people, and we want to obviously we enjoy talking to one another, but our favorite conversations and things we've done so far are when we've had other people in here. And so right now during basketball season, us getting in here and doing them at all is a blessing, but trying to get anybody else in here with us has been
we almost
impossible.
had Gary tonight.
Yeah, we've almost convinced people about 4 different times, and then something pops up, or
falls through.
We go too late or whatever it is. So, but we appreciate everybody listening and watching. Shout out Wiffle Boys for
and Braden,
letting us,
Braden's parents,
continue to be in here. I guess we'll call them our official sponsor of this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Anna Wiffle Boys.
And probably every other podcast until we can find somebody else. So.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. We're going to wrap it up here. This is another episode of Believe Ball Become. Shout out. Deuces.